Oh, hey there. So somebody just asked me on online, what do you think about a Christian who vapes? Be honest. Okay, I'm going to be honest, but I want you to hear the whole thing before anybody goes and make any kind of snap judgments on me. All right. So first of all, there are people that are at different places in their walk, in their faith, and it is not my place to judge anybody. So I want to say that right off the bat. Now, what do I mean by that? The day I got saved, okay, I was still a drug dealer. I was still selling drugs. I had tried to wean myself off of doing drugs and doing hard drugs, but I probably at that point, up until that point, had slipped up. And I probably still had a potty mouth, and I probably still did a lot of things I shouldn't have done. Okay. But I was on my way up, right? I was moving in a good direction. And so my faith was actually quite possibly stronger at that point than maybe even now. I don't know. Even though I had habits that people could look at and say, well, you shouldn't do this because you're a Christian. I'm like, how about you stop being so judgy and let God do his work, okay? Because at no point does it say you can't do certain things like vaping and get in heaven. Now, I realize that vaping didn't exist. So let's just paint a picture a different way, okay? This is my personal opinion. It is just my personal opinion. I've heard my pastor talk about this several times, and it really, I think the story really paints a picture that I stand on this this principle. So imagine that you are going to be in a race. Okay, you're going to go and run, I don't know, a marathon or some kind of long race or a sprint or any other type of a race. And imagine that you go up to the judge of the race before it starts. And you go, hey man, look, is there a rule that says I can't wear tires filled with concrete around my feet? Is there a rule that says I can't do that? And I could imagine him being like, well, I mean, technically, no, we never did. We never did write a rule like that. We thought that, you'd want to win the race. And so I feel like you're probably not going to win with tires filled with concrete on your feet, because everybody else here is like trying to streamline themselves as much as possible. They're trying to lose as much weight as possible and like get their weight down and train for a long time and wear super light clothing and like as little of it as possible and like super light shoes. And they're trying to like shave their body hair to get just that extra little. And I feel like if you're running around with tires filled with concrete, that, it might slow you down some. Or what if before the race you came up to the judge and you said, is it a big deal? Like, are you gonna disqualify me if I'm wearing enormous chains around my neck? Like, is that against the rules? And I can imagine him still going, well, technically no. I mean, you can, that's on you. But I don't think it's gonna help your race. And in the Bible, Paul says that this is what he says at the end of his life. He knows he's about to be executed. And he says, I have kept the faith. I have run the race. I've finished the race. What is the other thing he says? Sorry. I forget what the other one is right now. I've drawn a blank. Nevertheless, he refers to our faith and our time here on earth as running a race. And it matters. He says, we run as one who runs for the prize. Like, imagine there's only one winner, okay? Would you want to be running around with heavy chains around your neck? Would you want to be running around with, tires filled with concrete on your feet? I don't. And so everywhere that I can trim off something that's going to lighten my load and make my run easier, make my race easier, I want to do that, okay? When I first got saved, it was July 29th, 1989, and that was my clean and sober date. And at that point, I was baptized, I was put in the water, and I felt dirty, and I came out, and I felt clean for the first time in my life. And I'm like, I don't want to ruin this. I don't want to ruin this and make myself dirty again. And so at that point, I stopped all drugs, I stopped all alcohol, and I stopped all tobacco and nicotine and what have you. And I really was like, how can I make my life as clean and as uninhibited from God as I possibly can? I stopped cussing. And I feel like that has been very beneficial to me. Now, have I still had problems? Sure. Have I still had some health problems? Sure. Is my life perfect? Absolutely not. But I do look at people that are my age that have, and significantly younger than me, that do have habits that have a lot of consequences here and possibly later. I'm not saying they're going to go to hell for any of these things. I wouldn't even imply such a thing. I don't think it's smart. And I think that if you can quit, which of course you can, I would say do it. Because I have a huge list of friends and family and what have you that have died from substances, okay? And I know nobody who has quit doing those things and been upset about it. Every one of those people is like, I'm so glad I quit. And then a little bit of time passes and they go, I don't know why I did it for so long. I don't know why I ever put that stuff in my body. Now, if you're one of these people that's like, I don't know, maybe starting a vape or something like that, just don't. Just like it's a dumb habit, and you know, you see people walking around with their pacifier. I do make fun of people quite a bit to their face about it. I say, "Oh, cool, you found my pacifier. Don't worry, it's dirty." Or I'll say, "You found my rectal thermometer," or whatever. Like, you can keep it as dirty. And they kind of look like, I'm like, I don't know, but it's on you. I mean, it smells like cotton candy, but inside is death. And you know, people are like, I remember when vaping first came out, and they were like, you know, look, I quit smoking. I'm like, cool. Well, it's been a decade, and you're still doing it, and I don't know, whatever. They get all nervous and jittery and all this stuff, and I'm like, look, I'm not hating on you, but I don't think it helps. Okay, so do I think that there is like a moral thing with vaping or smoking or several other habits? Not necessarily, unless that, you know, you feel that way, convicted yourself. I choose not to do that stuff, and you know, like, I work circles around people that are decades younger than me, and you know, I feel like I'm in pretty good shape for somebody that's my age, and I do a lot of physical things for somebody that's my age, and I don't have the hindrances that other people do. And so, I don't know, look at somebody who has vaped, who has smoked, who has drank heavily, what have you, and then look at somebody that's the same age that has not done those things, and just ask yourself, like, which of those do you want to be? You know, heaven or hell, I think, doesn't rest on those decisions. But you know, it's your call. Love you guys.